Thank you, everyone, for being here. Thank you, Caitlin and Creative Mornings. And big shout out to Crow Shadow Institute of the Arts. Head east, go to Pendleton, not during Roundup, any other time of the year, and hang out with these amazing people at Crow Shadow. You will truly, truly enjoy it. Um, my name's Avantika, and I am a multidisciplinary artist. And I focus primarily on drawing and site specific installations. And most of my queries come from some combination of the words that you see out here. But at the end of the day, I am basically asking myself how differences in site, space, and place affect the way we experience the same form. I am here to primarily talk about the work I did with Crow Shadow, but since all the work I do affects each other, I'm going to highlight a few previous projects, such as my installation that I did in 2019 in India at the Run of Kutch, which is a big, vast white salt desert. This kind of happened very serendipitously, and an interesting tie. I won the Halliford Fellowship in 2018 around the time I was at Crow's Shadow, and someone asked me, "What are you going to do with this chunk of money?" I was like, "I don't know. I'm just going to go build a big pink thing in the middle of a big white space." And this revelation happened after I'd made a series of prints with Judy. So for me, without Judy, this epiphany would not have happened. So thank you. Um, this is an installation, like I said, it just came out really serendipitously, but without a collaborative effort, without workers from India, without the funding that I received from Oregon and also the people in India who funded this, it would not have happened. So stack by stack, just like the layers of uni sprints over a period of 10 days, a bunch of guys and myself built this giant thing. I swear I was physically active, but I couldn't take photographs and kind of build a scaffold. So here we are over a 5 day period. We finally built this thing. Very little advertising, but somehow people from afar saw it. They thought it was a selfie point. I was like, sure, it's a selfie point. And initially I was like, don't climb it. And then people started climbing it. I was like, go all out. And then my chancellor is like, can you climb all the way on the top and wave the WSU flag? I'm like, okay. And so I did. But anyway, the way I envisioned this was mostly thinking about it in the day. But for me, realizing that the landscape kind of looked really gorgeous at night because we could actually see the night sky in India, and India is pretty damn polluted. So being able to see stars at night at this very unpolluted space was really beautiful. So this is 2019. The idea was to take the scaffold down by February because by March, April, monsoon starts to hit, the soil gets weak. It was a temporary site specific installation. But March 2020, everyone's faced with this global pandemic. And India was in the midst of a really intense lockdown. And they're like, we can't send anyone out there. Your scaffold's just going to hang out. I was like, fine. And it stood. And then suddenly by June, July, it was engulfed by water. And I'm like, this looks so gorgeous. Can someone go photograph it? They're like, remember, there's a pandemic. So this iPhone photograph is the best you're going to get. And I was like, fine. By October, the scaffold for me, which started becoming a symbol of solidarity and stability, started to collapse. And for me, it was some sort of a metaphor for what was going on. And although I'm not interested in deconstruction and process, through this, what was happening with the scaffold, this was something I started to think about further. All right, jumping time completely. Um, like I said at the beginning, I work with site-specific installations because it allows me to work with people, it allows me to travel, which is something I really enjoy doing. But I also have a very quiet monastic practice in my own studio where I'm making drawings that are informed by architecture and the built environment. This is a building you guys are probably familiar with. It's one I deeply love, not just because of the nostalgia associated with it. I am a huge Blazers fan. I also like Evil Knievel and the Beatles, all of who performed out here. But at the end of the day, it's a freaking gorgeous skyscraper that's tipped over, and it's a simple pared down circle in a square. It's a grid, it's steel, concrete, bamboo, just really, really simple elements. So around 2015, I started making drawings of the building. And after one drawing, I wasn't satisfied. So I kept making many, many more drawings, all of which resulted in a show at the Portland Art Museum in 2018. So this is a slide from that show. During that time, and I knew I was doing the show by 2017, thanks to Grace Cook Anderson. I was making drawings, but in the process of making drawings, I also realized making studies for each of the drawings and larger panel works was important. And the idea of pushing permutations and combinations of a single idea was kind of etched in my brain. And I started thinking about my experiences as an undergraduate at the MS University of Baroda, where I did study printmaking. And I was like, damn, if only I could go to a print studio and make variations and combinations with slight shifts in pressure, texture, etc. Lo and behold, the universe was listening to me. So this is what finally resulted from the studies of that piece. And Carl Davis called me and said, hey, remember how? I was like, yes. He's like, can I? I was like, no, I'm coming now. So the summer of 2018, 2 months before my show, Judy's like, the pressure's on, no pun intended. I was like, all right, because, with lithography, the pressure matters. So I headed to Crow's Shadow, and I've done several residencies, quite a few, in fact. And every time I go to these places, I go with an open slate. I'm like, let the landscape, let the environment dictate what you do. But 2 weeks at Crow's Shadow with Judith Bauman is priceless. And I was like, I need to know what I'm doing. And I think I was Judy's first artist from the Golden Spot Residency, and we've known each other for a long time, so we were both kind of comfortable, though I think Judy was a little nervous because she knows how intense and crazy I can be. And I was like, we're making combinations and permutations of drawings I've already done of the Colosseum and even photographs. And so we started with this series on the left, which was done on actual lithography, on actual stone, and another version of more contemporary lithography, which is done on plate, both of which are just as important, and the results are very, very similar. Judy has used the words deceptively simple to describe my work, and I use it quite often now, because this flat red, I think Jamie and Judy broke their back trying to get. It's an off-white with silver and a red, and getting flat fields of color, not through Photoshop, not through digital printing, but actual physical ink on paper, is not easy. But somehow Judy pulled it off, pun intended. Like I said, I embraced the grid, so this was more for like, oh, the grid's in the grid. I don't like talking too much about process, but with collaborative printmaking, you can't not talk about process. And here you can see how we work together to kind of come up with our own colors. And I love that they named a color after me, and then 2 years later, my friend Lyndon used the same color and made sure I knew she was using it. That's us after 2 weeks of a lot of grinding. On the left is Jamie, who had just started an internship at Crow Shadow that summer. And I think that's the first time Crow Shadow brought in an intern from the outside. Jamie had just finished her master apprenticeship at Tamarind, another like that amazing institute that Judy attended as well. That's Judy, that's me, and Carl Davis, who's the ED. And to his left is Nika, his wife, who was also the marketing director at the time. Interesting story. Jamie had just finished undergrad and was a bit in La La Land, but amazing with the printmaking. And over the course of the 2 weeks, the educator and me popped in, and I was like, what are you doing after this? Oh, I think I'm going to grad school. I was like, come to my grad school. It's good. We need people like you. 2 weeks later, I think I convinced her, and then she did graduate and went to WSU in Pullman and graduated this past summer. So never know what happens in the studio. You get many more degrees. Also, what came out of this collaboration was a further collaboration with Ampersand Fine Books, who published this limited edition artist book that is still on sale through their website, and a book that was designed by my friend Martha Lewis with text that came from Brian Libby, who's a journalist, an amazing architectural journalist in town, and also a piece of creative writing from Grace Cook Anderson, who had curated the original show. So there's images of the prints that I did from Crow Shadow in here too. All right, so once the bug of collaborative printmaking had been etched in my brain. I was like, I need to seek out other collaborative print resident. Shit. Okay, I'm going to go kind of quick. So Sitka is another residency that is funded by the Ford Family Fellowship, and I was really honored to be invited to work with master printer Julia Diamario this winter. The earlier image was just to show you what the color of the night sky was and how that kind of indirectly informed the works that Julia and me pulled together. That's me in the studio. And here, instead of working with lithography, we're working on copper plates, doing intaglio techniques, getting into the groove. Yeah, Madonna. um, so, brutalist buildings is something that I have long admired. So, for my work at Sitka, I decided to do drawings and prints that were informed by brutalist structures around the world, like this one in Porta, and these two in Den Haag and Japan. And most recently, I found out, well, when I knew that Watershed, a print residency, exists in Portland, I started mugging Matthew Letzettler, who finally did invite me. And here I am doing a residency with MFA students at the PNCA Willamette. And I'm taking that Brutalist series further. And I meet with these students every Tuesday from 9:30 to 12:30. I bring them donuts so that they're happy, and together we are working on these really amazing large prints, because what's lovely and really cool about this residency is that get to work super big, and I'm excited to see where that goes. I'm going to end a little selfishly with a little promo to talk about my other recent collaborative effort, which is a site specific installation in at Northview Gallery at Portland Community College. This is a brutalist building, so it's nice to see my interest in brutalism and site specific installations kind of come together. The show is up through end October, so if you get a chance, check it out. But I want to end with a big thanks again to Crow Shadow and everyone who's made this morning possible. So thank you.